I tried to help and lost everything. I might be a whole. It's been 3 months today that I became a single man again. For the better part of 6 years, Celia and I have been serious and exclusive. We'd been kicking around the idea of marriage, but her job as a union negotiator keeps her on the road about 25 weeks a year while I run a CNC shop with a dozen employees. We're both considered successful, and neither of us thought a piece of paper with the government's approval stamped on it would make our life better. We don't have kids, and neither of us has family in the area, although her parents call her at least once a week. Mine are gone, and my sister died a dozen years ago in a traffic accident. We vacationed together, played, and enjoyed life together. We were never each other's hair, and even when she was on the road for weeks at a time, every day or two she'd call me or vice versa. We were simpatico. Once I made up my mind 6 years ago. There was never anyone else for me, even though the opportunities existed. She and I agreed we would share our love with no other. Until the 4th day of the 4th month of the 4th year of 2020. I was awakened by a phone call just before 5 in the morning. I guessed it was Celia because she was 2 time zones ahead of me and she knew I woke up at 5 a.m. "Good morning, babe," I said as I answered without looking. The voice was hers, but anger and attitude was not. "Jeans called me," she said, referring to our closest friend who lives in another part of the city. "Is everything all right?" I asked, concerned, both by the timbre of her clipped words and the sound of sadness I'd heard before. "No, Mike. He told me you were out with someone. He told me he saw you buying clothes with someone he'd never seen you with before. Son of a bitch," was all I got out before she went on. "I'm going to say what I have to say. He was curious, and so you pay for everything and help her carry it to your truck. You two kept looking over your shoulders like you didn't want anyone to see you. He followed you because you know how James is, and he saw you take her to dinner and then to our home. He waited for an hour, but she didn't come back out, and once all the lights were off, he went home. Knowing she was spending the night, he talked with his wife, and it took them 2 days before they called me to tell me what he saw, pack up all my stuff and put it in storage. I'm never coming back to that house again. I trusted you, and that trust is now gone. You were." I interrupted her and tried to explain, but after my first words, "Let me explain," I heard click. She'd hung up on me. I won't detail the extents I went to in an effort to tell my side to her. All contact was cut between her and I, Jeans and his wife and I, and any of a number of common friends we had. All the ways you can think of to contact and explain I tried, just so someone knows what Jeans said was true, but the story he told was without context. Jeans did not know I was buying clothes for a woman who worked for me. Her boyfriend had slapped her on a good bit. She came to me to tell me she was quitting and moving to Minnesota to live with her aunt and get away from the abusive relationship. As we were talking, she told me what had happened to her and how going home for her to that man was dangerous. She asked if she could sleep in her car in the gated parking lot of my company. I told her no, that she could stay with me and I'd personally keep her safe. While she sat in my office, I booked a flight for the next morning. Since it was late in the day, I asked if she wanted me to escort her to get anything from where she was living, and she told me most of it had been destroyed in his drunken fit of rage. The previous night, even her car had a broken windscreen. Most of my employees had gone home, including my assistant, so I told her we were going shopping. She tried to stop me, but she'd been a valued member of my company for more than 3 years, and she could program as well as anyone. I hated seeing her puffy eyes and defeated shoulders. She was a valued employee, and I would miss having her on the floor. It was the least I could do. We went to the store and got her a few changes of clothes, some toiletries, and other things she'd need for the next week while she settled in with her aunt. We kept looking around because her phone kept bleating for attention from him. She refused to answer. After a quick meal, I took her back to my place. I have a couple of spare rooms, and one is made up for friends, While we talked, I wrote her a glowing letter of recommendation she could use for when she got where she was going. It might have been her first good night's sleep where she felt safe in a long time, and I dropped her off at the airport and was back in my office at the usual time. Now, looking back, I should have called and told Celia what I was doing, but I was only thinking of helping someone who needed help. I didn't want to spread my former employee's dirty laundry over the phone. I thought telling Celia what I'd done when she returned would be good enough. I didn't expect James would be telling her what he'd seen out of context. I didn't think Celia would think I'd ever step out on her. I didn't think my life would be the hell it has become. TL Dr. My ex-GF didn't get the full picture and left.